trial attorney Ken Belkin is here with us live. Ken, mentioning that it's a bench trial in Dre's reporting. There's no jury. It's solely up to the judge. How common is it for a judge to issue a summary judgment on this case before trial even begins?
Well, look, a lot of the times you have to look, if it's a bench trial, at the pre-trial rulings of the judge. Judge is supposed to be unbiased and objective and a fair trier when it gets to trial, but the pre-trial rulings will very often telegraph what the final ruling is going to be. And as we just heard, Trump received a very damning ruling last week that said he had committed fraud with respect to the overvaluing of Mar-a-Lago and his penthouse apartment in Trump Tower. And, first off, I think he's going to appeal that ruling. I think he's probably going to appeal much of everything that happens in this case because the stakes are just that high for him. You're talking about a $250 million civil penalty. You're talking about him and his children not being allowed to be on as a director or an officer of a New York State corporation ever again, and basically the dissolution of all of his entities and the appointment of a receiver to manage that. So he is fighting for the life of his family's work, and I think he is going to try to appeal every single ruling that this judge hands down.
You talked about how damning it was. The ruling was that President Trump's valuations of these properties was, quote, a fantasy world. But let's take the Mar-a-Lago property alone. The judge says that it's appropriately valued at $18 million. We're talking about a 124-bedroom property that's not just a home, but a private club in, of all places, Florida, which has been booming in the real estate business. Real estate assessments from 2022, I pulled up a Forbes article, showed that Forbes itself, which, would maybe know a thing or two about business, about money, and have real estate assessors who were credible, valued the property at a conservative $350 million. Where is the judge getting these numbers from?
Well, look, Judge Angeron, with all due respect to the judge, is not an expert on Palm Beach real estate, apparently, because that is a massive discrepancy. Now, that aside, that is a pretty glaring, defense for the Trump team. But there is also the matter that his Trump Tower penthouse, he overestimated the square footage on some forms by 3 times the amount. And that's not simply the relying on experts such as accountants or appraisers. That's something else.
Well, if the President Trump, committed any fraud, any reasonable American would want him sentenced, right? Would want him to pay the penalty. But the vast differences in that one instance alone between what this judge is saying is true and what the former president is saying is true, with independent corroboration by real estate experts. I mean, isn't this why half of the country believes cases like these are politicized?
Yeah, and I do think that is the number one thing I would hang my hat on if I was an attorney for Team Trump at this point, because there is that massive discrepancy. And it's something that's so glaringly obvious. Even to my wife and I, we went on Zillow and we looked at properties in Palm Beach, and there are properties far smaller than Mar-a-Lago that are estimated at a worth of $40 million. So there is that glaring discrepancy. He is in a jurisdiction that is basically run by the opposition party, the Democratic Party. For all intents and purposes, New York City, it's a one-party city. It's the Democratic Party rules that city, and they handle most of the judicial appointments and elections. So there is some grist for the mill to say that this case is politicized. You also have the Attorney General who's prosecuting him that basically ran her campaign on the fact that she was going to, quote unquote, get Trump.
Yeah, and again, there are a lot of people who speculate and agree with the former president that she is biased. But if he is found guilty, in terms of the removal of his business certificates, I think that the judge already has canceled business certificates. Essentially, is that a fitting penalty for these crimes if he's guilty?
Well, these are, If he's guilty, I think they're going to have to come to terms with what that penalty is going to be. If it's going to be up to 250 million or something less than that, in light of the discrepancies and some of the valuations. I also think you're going to have the appeals process play out. And within 30 days of a ruling by a judge, you can file your notice of appeal informing the court and the prosecuting attorneys that you intend to file an appellate brief with the appeals court in the first department, as it would be, because this is a Manhattan case. And I think he's obviously going to do that. There are things that have been ruled on in this case, such as the value of Mar-a-Lago, that are surely suspect. And one could make the argument that maybe this judge is not as impartial and unbiased as he claims it to be.
Yeah. And Ken Belkin, we'll be watching the case closely because we just want the facts. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.